Okay, good evening, everybody. And again, welcome to this Landmark uh, Technologies testimony session. I know 2 weeks ago, we were gathered here for a testimony session where we had over 33 Landmark engineers that were hired in the space of 28 days. Again, we've had a good number of individuals that have been hired. And today we'll just have a few of them share their experiences. And our expectation is that their stories is going to be a motivation for any other person, and most importantly, we are going to be praying with them, okay, just to ensure that, the Lord goes ahead of them and establish them in this, their new jobs that they are going to be doing. I know I don't have everyone connected yet, so as they are joining the meeting, please, if you were meant to testify today, just write me either on WhatsApp or via the chat box. I think WhatsApp is going to be faster since we have many other folks that are trying to write. Again, I mean, it's a very large class, so at times it's so difficult to be able to have everyone as expected. But that said, I would like us to pray as our custom is, then we'll start taking, listening to the testimonies of our, engineers. So that said, let's bow down our head as we pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this special day, Lord. We have come to share our testimonies in obedience to your word that says that they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimonies, Lord. We pray that this testimony is going to be an overcoming, oh God, unction upon all those that are testifying. And we pray that even as they testify, Lord, for your glory, that which you have given them, Lord, shall be protected, shall be established, Lord, and they shall excel in it than never before in the name of Jesus. And for those that are here, Lord, to listen to these testimonies, the Bible says every word of testimony is a prophecy. Lord, I pray that this testimony is going to be prophecy to those that have come here today, that they are going to return, Lord, with the same unction to come back with the same result and even better result in the name of Jesus. Amen. So thank you so much again. We have with us Yvan. Yvan is the landmark engineer that has gone for 7 interviews with 7 job offers. We have Joshua with us. We have Baha with us. We have Patricia. Patricia joined the class with, Franklin. I mean, and I'm so glad that. Okay, please, I'm going to mute everybody so that we don't have a disturbing environment. So I'll just mute everyone, and for our testifiers, I'm going to make sure that they can unmute themselves. So I'm granting you guys access to unmute yourself for those that are testifying, just that we can have a serene environment, today. So Baha, let us start with you. Just share with us your landmark experience, how your journey in landmark has been. So
yeah, do you hear me?
Yes, Baha, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you for having me today, and I'm glad I have a chance to meet everyone over here, and I may be helpful for someone by giving advices or sharing my experience to have better way or better opportunity to get a job. So I can say what I can share, that I ask everyone to keep push, do not give up, please. I know some of people get tired, get exhausted. It feels like the prof pump a lot of information and a lot of exercises, a lot of subjects. I understand. I've been through these things, and sometimes I reach to the point which is I give up, but you have to push. Why I say you have to push, because basically the market is so hot now. You can't imagine when when you prepare your resume and you like in a professional way, and you see how many recruiters will reach you out and how many meetings will ask you for or interviews. You can't imagine. I got shocked. I wasn't sure that the market is like that. I wasn't sure that how much depend on the DevOps in these days. The most of the companies have shortage on DevOps. So by study hard, by be prepared, by spend time over here, the jobs will waiting for you. The jobs are already waiting for you. You know, like when I started like seeing the testimony while like during the class, and I see like some people say the market is good and you know like you will get a job, and say, man, I came from different industry, it's barely you will get an interview, which is it's hard, you know, a lot of competition and unstable industry. But this one, the DevOps in general, it's awesome. I will make it so quick and clear, so which is I can let everyone, the rest will share them experience. So I have some suggestion, like I can suggest take, you know, like take a break or take a month break while right after you finish your, it's my experience. You can, I'm sure you can use it, or it may not apply on everyone. You know, I know like a lot of, some people have a family responsibility, but you have to invest more time. You will not regret. You have to invest more time by studying, by go through each practice, by put your hands on the configurations, or do like working on the CI/CD pipeline. I know it's hard. I know it's a lot of like mistakes you will do. You may miss something, but it's take you maybe hours. But I guarantee every single moment you spend it over here, it's worth it. You will get the rewards after that. And I think most of people agree on with that. So I suggest that you watch the videos, please. Not one time, not two times, even if you can like 3 times. I know it's a long videos. I know it's hard. I know it's sometimes it's get bored, you get tired, you get exhausted, but you watch the video for the first time, maybe you get 10% of the information. You watch it again, you will get maybe 30–40%. You watch it third time, you get more. If you are super smart, you get it from the first one, it's fine. I'm average person, you know, like I'm not like super sharp, so I need to watch some videos. Till now, I go back and watching videos like some of the videos, which is it's opened my mind. Plus, some people not suggest. I suggest try to go over the beyond that, which is if you can go on YouTube or read some of the about the technology, watching some extra videos. I understand the Landmark's videos and training. It's so rich. It's cover everything. I promise you, it's cover everything. But my way is always sometimes I can understand the prof, like how to explain it, like the way, or maybe I start understanding wrong. I always, you know, like I go back up on YouTube, watch and enjoy, and then learn, and then go back, make the Landmarks videos as your book, your like the major, and the others is like your library backup.
Okay, so, Baha, let me not cut you short. You know, we have a lot of guys that are going to be sharing their experience. I wanted you to say something about like, okay, when did you finish the course? You in which class? I know you guys graduated. That was early last month, right? Yeah. On the 10th of last month, and we have still been in boot camp daily. So just share that. Let them also know. I know some people want to find out about your experience. Were you in IT before? How have you transitioned? You know, those are some of the questions that they are trying to get from you as well.
Sure. I'll be so quick. So it took me about a month to find like I got 2 offers, but you have to be prepared. You know, you have to be like, during the classes, I was like studying hard. So when I started doing the interview, it became like easy. It took me about a month, and I guarantee everyone, it could be less than a month, you will get more than one offer. I promise you. And you're gonna remember my words. That's so simple. So I used to be like IT for a long time ago, and I went to a different industry and I came back to DevOps. DevOps is the future now and for many years later.
Okay.
One more thing, I can just quick and I will be done. When you during the interviews, if you fail in 1, 2, 3 interviews, don't give up. It's simple. You always, I give you advice. Write down the question, which is you couldn't pass it, you couldn't have. You will learn. It will come back again with a different company, different interviewer. That's one of the key, which is I recommend everyone.
Okay. Okay, Baha, thank you so much again. Baha joined this program with class 25. They graduated last month in January. And when they finish, we've had series of continuous daily encounter for bootcamp sessions again, just to make sure that every single student in that class is hired as it is our culture, considering our 100% job guarantee policy, which is very hard work, which entails a lot of hard work on us as a school to make sure that, all of those things are delivered as expected. So thank you so much, Baha. I know some people will still come up again to ask questions. So let's just take some other folks. Let's know how their journey as well has been in this program. I'm not sure if Patricia is ready. And okay. Yeah, Patricia, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, yes, Prof.
Yeah, so I also want to bring to us at this time, Patricia. Patricia joined this program with the husband. And today, I think that was early this week, she called to inform me that I was going to be doing a background check. She got an offer. She was just so grateful to God for the transition and transformation that she too has been able to have. So Patricia, can you just share with us how your journey in Landmark has been? What was your background before coming to Landmark? And how were you able, to transition such that you are now a senior DevOps engineer with multiple 6 digits? So just let us know how that transition has been.
Thank you, Prof, and thanks everyone for being here. I'm so sorry, my baby's at the background, so that's a bit of distraction. 1 minute, please.
Okay. Yeah, that's another DevOps baby. Yeah, we have a lot of students that join this program with, mothers, and by God's grace, they have been able to go through it. I think your baby is part of your testimony. So go ahead, let's know how that transition has been though.
Okay. So it's really a privilege and a blessing to be in your midst today to share my own testimony. Just like Prof highlighted, my journey with Landmark started sometime in May of last year. That was when I joined class 24. And I strongly believe that my coming to Landmark was divinely initiated and orchestrated because God managed the journey from end to end. And so I got to know about Landmark at a time when I was actively seeking the face of God as to the right career path. At that time, I had my hands into so many things that I actually became confused and overwhelmed. I was running a cybersecurity program with U of T. Was preparing to write my PMP exams because I have a project management background. I was also working full-time and I had 3 young kids, so it was quite overwhelming. So it was at this time that I got to hear about Landmark through a friend, Tina. And really, I didn't really need much convincing before I concluded that this was it, because it came at a time when I was praying and actively seeking the face of God. So I saw it as answers to my prayers. And so I went for it and I discussed with my husband and he bought into the idea. So we both joined the class. And so fast forward to boot camp, because of the so many things I had my hands into, I didn't really give the class the requisite, Mama, reduce it. Excuse me, please. I didn't really give the class the requisite time. And so by the time we got to boot camp, I was so far behind the class. But that didn't discourage me. So my husband and I decided that that I should just keep rolling it, that by the end of the year, I would quit my job and then I can focus on the program. So that was what we did. And so I didn't start to actively interview until December. That was when I did few interviews. And I would say I really started to actively interview in January. And the beginning was a bit rocky. But for me, each interview was like a learning opportunity for me. I didn't see it as a failure. I saw each interview as an opportunity to identify what my gaps were and then how I would bridge those gaps. And so that was what I did until I landed the job. And so what did I do differently? I would say that really, I think I doubled my prayers because see, effort without prayers is fruitless. You trust me. I mean, I've been there, I've done that. Effort without prayers is fruitless because, so I would say that is what I did differently. I doubled my prayers and I prayed, I worked hard, but I prayed harder. And that paid off. And I will encourage us to, the content is very robust. My advice to everyone watching me is this: stick to your Landmark projects. There are so many materials out there that if you don't restrict yourself to your Landmark project and resources, you're going to get yourself confused and overwhelmed. So stick to your Landmark projects and stick to your tech stack, because even your interviewers know that no two environments are the same. And so at the very early stage of your interview, let your interviewers and your recruiters know that, look, this is my tech stack, this is the tools I use, I'm not a jack of all trades, so that from the very beginning, they will tailor your interview just, to fit the tools that you are proficient with, the tools you've used, and not, and let them know that your effort is a collaborative effort. That way they won't expect you to be the database admin. They won't expect you to be the infrastructure engineer. They won't expect you to be everything, and so that will make your interview simpler. And like I said, keep praying, keep working hard. The program is robust. You have everything you need, end to end. Don't give up. It can be very tiring, just like the last person did say. It can be very tiring. It can be very overwhelming. Just keep pushing, keep going. Every day, go back to the videos, watch them over and over again. Attend your classes as often as you can, and then be active in your groups. And the result will, and in a short while, you'll be here to give your own testimonies. So that's it for me. Thank you once more for this opportunity. And I'll stop here.
Okay, thank you so much again. It's so great to listen to your testimony. to get the transition that you've been able to go through in this journey as a full-time mom, working, going to school again. And by God's grace today, I mean, that hard work is paying off. So, congrats again once more. We are going to be coming again to take some questions from you, even as we round up the session, okay, with prayers. Wow, that's very important. Okay, at this time, I would like to invite Sina. Let me invite Sina at this time as well. So Sina equally is a Landmark graduate, class 25, and by God's grace, he called me this week. We had to run some background checks, and that's how he equally got his own, offer as a DevOps engineer after going through this same training. So Sina, can you just explain to us how you are transitioning to DevOps, into Landmark, and into IT has been, and how your training was, and the approach that you used to succeed in your training? Okay, unmute yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so let me just, I'm just going to share with you my experience, my personal experience with.
I'm not, okay. Okay, your voice was kind of breaking.
Okay, is it better?
Yeah, I think it's better, so.
Okay, so I just wanted to, I guess, share my experience. Like everyone said, everyone's experience in here is different. I took this course 2 times. I'm originally from class 23. And the first time I took the course, I really didn't take it serious. It was just coming to class, watching the videos, understanding some things, and in my head it made sense, but I never really pursued and kind of went after and did the projects, none of that. And then I remember a couple of months after my class, I saw a few of my classmates that were graduating and they were getting hired. And I thought to myself, okay, I really need to take it serious. If they can do it, I can do it. Then I took the class again. This time I came in to class 25. And I'll be honest with you guys. This class is, for me, it was very challenging. I have a family, I have a wife, I have my kids, I have a full-time job, and just trying to manage time to be able to, take the time away from your family and to be able to just sacrifice a little bit and study. And what I mean by study is just watching these videos. Make sure you have your free time to get with your groups and just talk to each other. Constantly talk to one another. Constantly ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask any questions. Okay, and don't think that any question is silly in any way, because we all understand in different ways, and everybody explains things differently. Yeah, it was, just please don't give up. That's all I ask. For me, like I said, it was very challenging. It was a lot of hard work. It was, don't think that you can't do it. Don't give up. Please don't give up. You're spending your hard-earned money to take this class. And if anybody in here can get a job, you can get a job. Just make sure you don't give up. Make sure you're constantly studying. If you want to take some time off, take some time off. Just freshen up, and just come back to it. The worst thing you can do for yourself, and if you have a family, for your family, is to give up. And that's one thing that I learned. Just continue. I am a Christian. I don't know about anybody here, but I prayed a lot. Like my sister, where'd she go? But when she was saying she prayed harder, that was me. I did study. Trust me, I studied a lot. And sometimes, even though I studied so much, I still felt like I still don't understand. And I spent a lot of time prayer and in the Bible, and I asked God to help me, because this to me, this was very supernatural. Like there were very intelligent people in this class. In my class, in the previous class, don't compare yourself with anybody. Just keep at it. Don't give up. Put your trust in God. And yeah, and also just another thing, when you're going through the interview process, that's another challenge. You're gonna come across some students that may go through an interview and they may get their first job. Don't let that aggravate you in any way. Don't let that intimidate you. Their studying may be completely different than yours. The questioning might be completely different. The environment, the hiring manager, all of that. Just take it as a learning experience. Record, I would say, record your sessions with a voice memo or whatever you have on your phone, and just go over them. Write the questions down. Google them. Thank God with boot camp. The boot camp was, for me, it was such a huge help, even though I couldn't wake up that early to join everybody, and I wish I could. But
okay, sorry to cut you again there. Now, can you just explain where you are coming from to get into IT? Like, before joining Landmark, have you ever worked in IT before?
No.
Okay, so this is the first time you'll be working as an IT engineer, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, I see some folks trying to find out how much is salary. Again, as I've said, all the salaries for all those that have testified in Landmark are multiple six figures. Now, 6 figures in Cameroon is going to be like 100,000 francs CFA, which is like $200. But 6 figures in the United States of America, you know, is at least $100,000 US a year. And we have folks here that are, as a matter of fact, we now have Landmark graduates that are on over $500,000 a year. So those are the things that we see daily, you know, taking place. So I would like us to move again to the next person. We are going to come back again to take some questions and answers, since we have a good number of people sharing their experiences. And this time around, I'm going to move to Joshua. Joshua is in class, I think that's class 26. Let me make sure I got it. Yeah, that's very correct. Class 26. Joshua started this program. That should be sometime in October, 10th of October of last 2021. And he's here with us as well to share his experience with us, how his journey has been. So Joshua, you know, I know people have different experiences. We've heard, okay, Baha explaining his experience, you know, it was, I mean, someone said it's challenging. You know, of course it is, because nothing good comes easy, right? If you are going to go through something that is this big, then you should be, I mean, you should pay at least some price to get there. So tell us how your own experience in Landmark has been.
All right. Thank you, Prof. I hope you can all hear me. Yes, my name is Joshua. Joined from class 26. So class 26 is actually still rolling. I see my sister Khalifat here as well. I think we are both in class 26. So yes, it's been a great journey. And I would say thank you, first of all, to the one that introduced me, Mr. Razak Lukman. He's the one that told me about Landmark. I'm actually an IT professional. I've been doing IT for quite some time, cybersecurity. but DevOps is a whole different thing, and DevOps is the future. And so that's what Razak told me and introduced me to Landmark. Yeah, he was in class 25. And that is how my journey began with Landmark. And like Sina and Patricia have said, it is a very challenging project. The content is very robust and very in-depth. You know, this is not a walk in the park. So, and Prof says, when you come here, you are changing your career. So, you know, don't come here thinking it's a walk in the park and you're gonna get a job at the end of the day. You really have to put in the work, watch the videos. One thing that I also take from Prof is that sometimes, and Prof understands that the program is challenging. And sometimes he tells us, hey, if you see this, don't freak out, just understand what is going on. And so I'll share the same advice with you. If you are working on a project, you don't really understand what is going on. You just can, you know, integrate Jenkins with Marvin or SonarQube or whatever, you know, just understand what is going on. Just understand why we are integrating Jenkins with SonarQube. Understand the functions of the processes. You may not execute it fully, but just understand what is being done. And that was what helped me. I did my first interview on the 11th, which was on a Friday. And on Monday, 14th of February, which was Valentine's Day, I got my first offer. And so it has been a great journey for me, but challenging as well. In as much as it is challenging, it is also rewarding. And so if you are willing to put in the work, I think you'll be rewarded. And as Prof said, you know, you put in the work and the interview, you come through with a relative ease. And so it is my hope and prayer that everyone will also go through this program and achieve the success that they came here for.
Okay, thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you so much for that analysis. You know, it's so great to see how you've been able to transition into DevOps automation. I know we have a lot of folks here who will be wondering again, there is a very huge gap between cybersecurity and DevOps. It's a very huge gap. We have a lot of folks that are in cybersecurity that comes to study the DevOps program. You know, again, and by God's grace in Landmark, you know, that platform is available to transition with relative ease. So at this time, I would like to invite Khalifat. So Khalifat, I know you two, you are equally in class 26, you know, so can you just share with us your own experience and, you know, how that transition has been, you know, coming to study DevOps and, you know, coming to embrace IT as well. So let us know. I know we have a couple of your classmates here who are very eager also to know how you have been able to, you know, break through the system. I mean, you guys are still in class. We are not yet in boot camp for the record class 26. We are still going through the regular classes. We are yet to start boot camp in March, and we have all the results that we are getting so far. So share with us how your own journey has been, Khalifat.
Thank you so much, Prof. And thank you all, class 26. I don't know, I'm gonna share my testimony without I'm really, really emotional right now because this journey didn't start for me now. I started my IT career 2 years ago. I started with Oracle and I did Postgres. I have many of my colleagues then, they're in class 27 and they knew how the journey was for me. I came into Landmark depressed. You guys will know it. I was a walking Oracle. I was literally living Oracle. I was working 2 full-time jobs, and I'll tell you of a truth. For the past 2 years, I hardly get 2 hours sleep. People that know me knows that. I study hard, I work hard. I love reading. I troubleshoot a lot. But when I finished Oracle, something happened. And I spoke to Prof about it. I said, it's not gonna happen this time around. I called Prof in January. If Prof remember very well, I was at work. And I said, Prof, I'm sending my resignation. I said, I'm afraid, but I'm sending in my resignation. Prof told me something. It's a word that you always say, something that they that see darkness have come into light. I can't remember what that statement. Then I called my boss and I tendered my resignation. The regional manager came and was like, everybody was like, are you crazy? I said, no. And I told my husband, I said, I give myself till February. I want to thank Lado. She was so supportive. She's always praying with me. You know, then when I tendered it, then I was like, for the very first time, I went to sleep. I slept like 10 hours, you know, like I'm sleeping, you know. Then I started studying. Then I did my resume. Then I abandoned my old LinkedIn and calls started coming in, you know, and I was like, okay, it's time for you to start taking the interviews. The first one that came was so funny because it was even, I think I gave Prof was part of the people that did the reference. I had 3 references. And the reference itself was like an interview. Joshua Ayeni, thank you. He was part of the person that did the reference for me. We looked at him, was like, Khalifa, this reference is interview itself. Are you sure you go? I said, I will go. It was a 5-stage interview. It took me around the architecture, everything. We started, you know, it was live. I went up to the VP. We did everything you can think of in AWS, every question, the structure, the infrastructure from, it opened my brain up on AWS, like, is AWS like this? Then after all, like after the 5th one, they said, okay, I just like, okay, we'll be moving up with the next person. At that point, I've had that experience before. And that was actually what took me to depression when I was doing Oracle. And I told myself, God, I'm not going down this route again. Then I challenged myself. I said, no, Khalifa, they're not going to do this to you again. Then I started applying. So the one that gave me this offer was so funny. And I use when I got it, because it was like, at times in life, human being, we think on our own ability that it is what I would do, but it is what God will do. You know, it was like the Bible verse was like, it uses the things of the foolish to conform the wise. So the job came, the recruiter reached out to me and asked me like to apply. I was just like, okay, I applied. Then I did the interview. I always look at the bigger picture, the concepts. People that know me that we study with, they will tell you, Khalifa, I always look at the bigger picture. But when the questions start coming in, they start coming in from Git. Start asking for me, what is Git? You know, have you had just basically Git clone, Git rebase, all those small things, you know, you can think of, you know, compose, Docker compose questions. And I started asking, there were 2 of them. One was just quiet. And it just came from nowhere and started asking me about Kubernetes. I said, Kubo, wait a minute. We've not even started Kubernetes. Then he said, okay, run me through your Jenkins. How do you configure your pipeline? I said, okay. Started talking about the pipeline and everything. Then I got to the Git webhook and he said, hold on, can you tell me how you configure your Git webhook? I said, okay. I started talking about the Git webhook, the settings, how you integrate Jenkins, put the Jenkins URL. Then he asked me something. I won't forget that question. He said, do you know what it's called? A payload URL. At that point, I was like, come, I know payload URL. But then I cannot, because I wasn't thinking in that direction. I wasn't paying attention to little details. And I said, oh my, I don't know. And he said, okay, let's move on. Then he went back to, he said, okay, how do you know, you want to do your Jenkins and you want it to build from the master. How do you specify it? I remember, I tried, I struggled to remember. I said, wait, when you go to your configure, there's a place that you put it there. I couldn't remember what is called branch identifier at that point. I started telling myself, Khalifa, what kind of thing is this? Then we went on and went on and went on, and they said, okay. And after that, they just ghosted me. The recruiter didn't call. He didn't say anything. I was like, I reached out to him because I always give them 2 days. I reached out to him. He didn't call me back. I said, okay, no problem. Let's move on. Then out of the blues, then I started taking, I've taken like, if in my bedroom, this is my room, this is where I sit all day. I apply a lot, keep applying. I will encourage you. And sometimes I take 2 interviews. Sometimes I take 3 a day. I'll just be sitting down here, taking the interviews. Because what I told myself is the more I take the interview, the more I can learn. I can know where the question is and I can start preparing myself and help other people like, okay, this is our strength. This is where we should look for. That was even my main aim of going for interview. Then out of the blue, just a Khalifa, and I said, yes. And, there's one thing God did for me. I think I was on the phone with one of our classmates and somebody out of the blue, one job that 4 months ago before I joined Brotech and called me and like, hey, Khalifa, we want to move with you with Postgres. I said, you know what I told them? I said, just give me time to think about it. If I have time in 2 weeks' time, maybe I'll call you guys just because I don't want any distraction. Then I started doing this. They called me out of the blue and said, hey, we want you to apply again for a job. I said, you want me to apply for a job? But you didn't reply me. Said, just apply for this job. I'm going, okay. I said, okay, go ahead. And after 2 hours, another recruiter called me from the same company and said, hey, Khalifa, I saw your profile. I want to put you in for the same role again. I said, come. I have one of your recruiter that just called me and offered me that he said, okay, that I should apply for this role. And lady was like, her English wasn't even clear. And I was giving her so much attitude, like, you guys should just leave me alone. I'm not interested, And she was like, please just apply. I said, okay. So I was driving with my friend. I was just like, not interested. Then something just told me like, Khalifa, why don't you ask her for the job ID rather than conclude that it's the same job? And I looked at the guy, I saw the number and I called her. I said, can I get your job ID? She told me. I said that there are different rules, but from the same company. I said, okay, go ahead and do it. Then like 3 hours later, their HR called me and was like, I need to talk to you. I said, Dashan already called me. Jancy already called me. She said, yeah, I want to talk to you about the 2 rules. I said, okay, go ahead, let's talk about it. Then she started asking me questions. What are the tools? What have you done? Tell me about yourself. I explained everything to her. Then as soon as I was getting home, she just sent me the interview date and everything. The same date, just 2 hours gap. I said, okay, this is it. Then, it was so funny. The one that I did in the morning, the first one I did, the lady just came for me out of nowhere. I don't know. She asked me like 10 questions, but believe me, the first 4 questions was out of what I've ever heard. She just came like, as if she was just like, I don't want to give you this job. She was just bringing questions. In fact, I can't even regret, it was so bad, I can't even remember the question. But what I knew was she first of all threw it at me like, what do you understand as cloud native and cloud agnostic? And I was just like, trying to figure it out. Then she'll go like, don't worry, and move up to the next question. Like, I'm not having time, I'm not doing this with you. So at the end, I concluded like, you know what, you guys should just take your job. Then the other one was like 2 hours apart. Then the guy just came in and it was so like, okay, tell me about yourself. We went talking, it was more of a discussion. Then he asked me, what tools have you been working with? Then I started from GitHub to Maven, and he was just itemizing it based on our syllabus. And as I was itemizing it, I was talking it and he was just smiling. Then he asked me, how do you configure your Git? Then I started with, okay, how do we configure our Git? We do, initially we have to do a Git clone and do our Git config, the username. I run all those steps to the system add and everything. Then it was like, okay, then I asked me, okay, what is your branching strategy? I said, okay, no problem. I explained our branching strategy at Landmark. Then he asked me, okay, about how, if we have actually deployed an application and we have bugs, what do we do? Start talking about the bug fix. Then we talk about the feature fix. Then he now asked me about my scripting experience. I said, okay, for the scripting experience, the only thing I've ever done is bash shell scripting, which I use for my package management, like Prof will always say, our, our user management. And it was like, okay, so any Python experience? I said, no. At Landmark, I don't write code. our developer does that. And he was like, okay. Then he asked me the difference between CMD and entry points, which I explained. Then he asked me, what is the difference between Docker create and Docker run? I explained it. I was just like, okay, bring it on. Then there's one thing that is very common with all my interviews. They will ask me this question. Okay, we have an application that runs very well in dev and in production, in UAT, there was challenges. At that point, I said, okay. Then I started thinking, okay, at that point, I was like, you have to think of a scenario. I think I called Prof after that. I said, Prof, I don't know if what I said was right. I said, think of a scenario. I said, okay, that means that you're using monolithic services because and I said, in Landmark, what we have discovered that the problem is always has to do with infrastructure. The way our infrastructure, and sometimes it has to be with our version, our JDK version. And he was like, okay, tell me more about it. I explained it that, okay, when I troubleshoot, he just points me to this thing and that, and he was like, okay, no problem. I think that solves it. And I said, but wait, this is how we fix it. Because of this thing that has been happening, that is where what took us to microservices and we take advantage of containerization. I just switch it down to Docker like that. And I started talking about containerization, how we have used it to achieve and everything. And now I just took him to, then it was like, okay. Then we started talking about Kubernetes, the deployment, and that was just it for me. And before I finished, the Holy Spirit just told me something that Khalifa just made mention to this. I said, because he asked me, is there anything you want to tell me about yourself? I smiled. I said, yes, I forgot to tell you one thing, that at Landmark, I'm actually a trainer and I'm a go-to for knowledge transfer when we have a new DevOps people come. He said, wow, you're a lead. I said, yes. I said, that's it for me. And it was, so at the end of it, I said, and that was it for me. Then I went back and it was so much. So much.
Yep. So let me just have some clarity for the records. You said you were doing 2 full-time jobs. Were they IT-related jobs?
No.
Okay.
They were operational jobs, and it was 23 hours jobs.
How many hours?
I was actually running like 23 hours in between jobs. I only just go home, and you wonder how I do class sometimes.
Wait a minute. Did you say 23 hours?
During December, it was like that because I have to manage people. So it was.
Wow. Okay. The fact is that congratulations, Califat.
Thank you, Prof.
Califat is in class 26. The fact is, those that have all class 26 students that have contacted me to want to start interviewing, I don't always allow them to do so, because I always want that before you get into the job market, make sure you've gone through the content from end to end. That's always my position. But, she went into the job market, forced herself in the job market, because we are not yet finished class 26. I think we still have like 1 week to go. By the 28th, we have 4 more classes to cover. By the 28th of this month, we are going to be done with that particular class, and then to get into boot camp. But this is her year today. She had done some IT courses before, like many other folks that come to Landmark, because there are people that come to Landmark and they're like, Prof, tell me, I've had a very bad experience, and that was Khalifat's experience as well. I've gone for IT programs before. I was told I'm going to have a job and stuff. And finally, this is me again. After 1 year, 2 years, I'm still on the same position. But today, those that are sharing their testimonies, most of them have multiple offers. I think Khalifat has 1 and she's expecting 3 this coming week. So those are the kind of things that we get on a constant basis. Like, you are now ready to be given the offer. So at this time, I'm going to invite again to us, to you guys this evening, the guy that went for 6 interviews and came back with 6 job offers. Now, again, I'm bringing to the stage Yvan. Yvan is all the way from Dallas, I mean, am I correct, Yvan? Is it, okay, let me just unmute yourself let me unmute you. Okay, just share with us your testimony. Everybody is eager to know, we've heard how, I mean, others have shared their story, but people want to know what is it that you do and that you did, that all the interviews you went for gave you the offer, so that those that are still interviewing or class 26 will soon start interviewing. And we have some of your classmates, a few of them that are yet to get something. Let them know how and what you did, so that they can be able to go through that same route and return with multiple offers. So go ahead, Yvan.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Yeah, so first of all, I want to give glory to God because everything comes from Him. I don't depend on my intelligence. I don't depend on my wisdom. I depend on my prayer. So when I study, when I work, like everything depends on me. And when I pray because I have to submit my hard work, to the corrector so that he can give me a mark that will decide if I go, forward or I still have to improve myself. If I can say something about all you guys are, preparing to go into the market, the job ratio is a minimum 10 job back for each engineer. Once you understand this, you don't have you don't even have to rush on something. I mean, take your program from end to end. I could have been taking an interview right after we done Docker. I knew I was so ready for interview. I even went and test myself, just to take interview for fun. Everything was going well. Then I came back. That's when I had my first offer, but I rejected it. I just wanted to make sure that, okay, the job is out there. So I came back to my training. I feel from July 10th to January 2nd, I went through everything. I did not. So you guys should not be interested. The money is there. Don't even worry about it. If I have to take all my job offer that I work with them, that's about $700,000. What am I going to do with it? So I'm only handling two. I only have two, as you can see. So I decided to stay only with two because I'm not rushing. So take your time to understand the concept. Once you combine the concept, the practice, and be able to teach it to somebody, that's it. So for every object, understand the concept. What is Kubernetes? Why Kubernetes? Can I explain Kubernetes to someone on the street that has nothing to do, with it or IT or something, and then you'll be able to tell me, I think I understand what you're saying, even though I don't know what you're saying. Are you able to do that? Once you have this type of ability to understand the concept, practice it, and then teach it to somebody, I think that's it. That's my formula. That's how I go. Okay. You can see for each 3 hours video, I will not lie to you, it will take me about 6 to 7 hours to fully grasp the concepts in this video. Another great thing is that you gotta have group studies. In my group studies, everybody knows that, I ask questions like crazy. I have to practice it, I have to combine, my visual memory, my brain memory, and my touch memory. These three always have to be together, So this is my formula. Grab the concept. When Prof gives a video, after a video, if you just go and practice and following how Prof is practicing as well, you're not understanding. Try by understanding the introduction. That's why I like the way Prof introduces every topic. Try to grab the concepts. What is Ansible? What does it do? Why do we need it? What is Jenkins? Why do we need Jenkins? What problem do Jenkins solve? Once you grab this concept, now when you go to practice, how, you have a sense when you have a sense of what you're doing, because when something fails somewhere, you can easily tell, okay, Jenkins is unable to pull the code from GitHub. What is the problem? I'm working with Java-based application. I don't have a trigger. I did not configure my webhook. Why? Because this is how Jenkins is talking to this guy. The plugins. What is a plugin? A dependency, which means without it, it cannot do this. So understand the concept before you go to practice. And then after the practice, now try to explain it. That's how you integrate it to yourself. Explain it, speak it. Your end-to-end DevOps cycle should be your morning devotion after your prayer. Your from Git to all the way to deployment to Kubernetes should be a morning devotion after your prayer. Just like our Father in heaven, this and that, this and that. When a developer put a code into Git, I configure my webhook because you work in Jenkins Java application, so that I set up my push event so that every time there's a commit into this, Jenkins will pull into this, it will integrate with Marvin, achieve a clean code, and then it will do Sona. I put it into Sona. Why am I doing Sona? I'm doing Sona because Marvin only focus on test unit. So I'm doing Sona because I want to achieve, the code coverage. I want to achieve a good the duplication. I don't want any bug. And then after this, you will send it. So you're doing something there, but you already put the play in your mind. So the thing is just flowing. You should get to that level. You should get to that level because the way you explain, the way so that's why on each of my interview, when you commit your mistake to ask me that question, I know I'm done. I know you give me that offer. You will give me that offer. It's mine already. Once you ask me, tell me about yourself. What do you do on Landmark? In my mind, I know that guy, I have it already. Because whatever question you will ask me after, once I tell you how all these two are connected together, the only thing you can do after is just maybe to ask me specific question based on these two. And everything is already scheduled and programmed in my mind. Wherever you touch, even if I don't know, I'll modify this question and bring it to what I know and develop it for the next 10 minutes. So that's because something is for sure. Even after Prof gives out, all environment are different. The environment we work in Landmark is different. The environment I work with, whether Apple or Conga or whatever other company, I don't even know. I have to reject almost 6 offers because I don't want to focus on them. So it's different. That's why the concept, grasping the concept should be your goal. Okay. When an interviewer asks you, tell me your experience by GitLab. I've not done GitLab, but I know it's a building tool. But I know it's a source command just like GitHub. And I've done GitHub. I used it for this, for that, like this and this and that. Same thing for Marvin. Same thing. So just because every environment is different, they have their tool. They even have their way of authenticating themselves in their server. Just like we have a way that we are authenticating ourselves in a server in Landmark. So are you able to authenticate yourself in a server? That is a concept. Once you understand that, you go to a company, they will tell you, hey, Yvan, I know that's how you do in Landmark, but here we do it like this, like this, like this, like this. So when it comes to offer letter, I stopped taking interview. I even get to the point where, I wasn't even reading the job description no more. That was a waste of time for me. So I will like, when you call me, you tell me your company, do I like your company? I do a bit of research on me and just schedule me an interview. When do you want to take an interview? I have 2 hours. I have to go to the gym. So let's do it right now. And they will be like, let me talk to my manager. And then the manager will be, okay, let's take it. And then I'll take the interview easily, no stress. If I show you on my recording interview here, you will feel like it's Profi that is talking.
Well, congratulations, Yvan. Congratulations. It's very exciting listening to you and trying to understand again how you've been able to go through this journey. To me, can you walk us through one of your interviews? Just walk us through one of your interviews, the questions that you were asked and how you confronted them. And somebody is trying to, for you, I know before you joined Landmark, you told me you were in a pharmacy school, and you had to switch to Landmark once you heard about this same stuff. So somebody was just trying to find out that information. Yeah, this was a pharmacy student who is now a multiple senior DevOps engineer with so many job roles. But now I want you to walk us through one of your interviews. Okay, the questions that you were asked and how you confronted them. I think that is going to help a lot of folks that year, particularly class 26, whom I expect should start interviewing maybe from March, even though we
Mhm.
already have a good number of them hired. So just let us know how, walk us through one of your interviews.
Yeah, somebody is saying that the salary negotiation, when you speak well, I mean, you'll be surprised what they are offering you. Maybe lower than what you were, maybe you were expecting 150 and then they will just jump you. Or you know what, let's just start at 160 or something like that. So if I have to remember so many interviews, so yeah, let's say one interview from this company, they tell me, okay, what do you do? Tell me your experience. What do you do at Landmark? Tell me a project you've done at Landmark. And then I went like, okay, at Landmark, I've been working with this fintech client, which is a bank application, a bank client based in Canada. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you the name because I signed closure for that, so I don't want to be in jail. I don't want to have problem with that. So my team and I, okay, we are in charge of maintaining their CI/CD pipeline because we're working with Java-based application. So now I'm a leader of 8 people in our team. So when we have a project at Landmark, what Landmark is trying to push leadership. So every time we have a project, the higher manager will decide, okay, this time, Yvan, you will lead this project. And then maybe the next project, Khalifa, you will lead this project. That's how they're training us to not only be developed, but also develop, leadership skill. So when we have a new project, okay, I already know we have 3 developers in my team. Don't get me wrong, there's so many teams, but in my team, we have 3 developers, we have 2 DevOps, we are on one database and one Linux. So as a DevOps, I organize, a setup environment for our developer. I set up a good organization for them. I'll create a private repository for them. As a matter of fact, I already wrote a bash shell script, that would take, their personal token and then convert it to SSH so that they can authenticate themselves in their own repository. So really what they do is they write this code now and they commit this into the repository. That's all they have to do. You already know all the steps, when it comes from development to UA, from UA to local repo, from local repo now to production. And then that's where my colleague and I, we take the code from there now, depending on how we want to configure, the pipeline. Do we want to do just a pipeline? Do we want to do a freestyle? Sometimes do we want to do a pipeline or multiple pipeline most of the time? So because you're working with Java-based application, I have to configure my triggers. I start by configuring my trigger for this repository that is already approved to be proceed to the next step. So I configure my webhook in Jenkins and in the repository. That way, I choose the push event so that every time there's a new commit, okay, my Jenkins will go through. But now, how's my Jenkins configured? I configure my Jenkins so that I can integrate it with the tool that we use, configure a Jenkins integrator with Git, Jenkins integrator with Maven, depending on how you want to use Maven. Sometimes you can just go into Jenkins and configure a Maven there. If you go to global tool configuration, you're able to configure your Maven in there, but sometimes you want to use it as a standalone application and do the build right there. So now, once you're able to pull out this code from Git, okay, like I said, okay, we integrate Jenkins with Git, with Maven, with SonarQube, with Nexus. That's the end of our CI because we have this continuous integration. We have a continuous deployment, and after that, we can ensure continuous security, continue monitoring. These are the end of the chain. So really, when I pull my code, what Jenkins does is you pull the code from Git, okay, and then it will integrate it with Maven because I already configured my Maven into Jenkins. And then because the goal at this point is to be able to achieve what we call a clean code package, which is just a process that will take this raw code that the developer wrote into from the MVN package, process, validation, compilation, testing, and then we end up having artifacts. Now, because we're working with very sensitive application, and our banker, they have a specific requirement on the type of application we have to deploy for them. So at this point, you can understand that security is a big deal for us. We don't want, because we're working with, they're paying a lot of money, so we don't want to have complaints from them. We have to reduce as much as we can, for them to not complain on the type of deployment we're doing, for the application. That's why we have to now still run this code, to a code quality process. Because when you look at it, Maven is just a process that focuses on unit test cases most of the time. So if our developer wrote 1,000 lines of code and then they submitted 500 unit test cases, that's what Maven will focus on. What about the other founders? What happened to that? So we bring this code now into SonarQube because we want to achieve a code coverage. In a Landmark, we have a code coverage that is at least for this fintech client at least 90%. If we do not achieve a code coverage that is at least 90%, we do not move on with the code. So we take this code into SonarQube now to be able to achieve not only the code coverage, but also we want to eliminate as much as we can any bugs, and then we want to maintain the maximum of duplicated lines at no more than 5%. Now, when we have this artifact now after the SonarQube process, now we have artifacts now that are pure that we can confidently deploy into the production. But still, we don't just deploy like that. We have to save them somewhere as a backup plan. We might have a disaster moving forward. We don't want to go and start from scratch. We want to come and grab it where we left it. So now that's what we use, what we call Artifactory. And in this case, we use Nexus, which is our Artifactory. Now, when we have our code now into Artifactory, this is the end of continuous integration. Now, when it comes to the next step, to continuous deployment, depending on how you want to deploy. Do you want to do Jenkins Kubernetes, where we have Jenkins to Dockerize the entire application and give us an image that we deploy into Kubernetes? Or do you want to deploy into many servers so that we can connect our Ansible and Jenkins to the SSH plugin? That way, we can just write a playbook into Ansible and then be triggering this playbook just from Jenkins, and then Ansible will be deploying to as many as servers as we want. Do we want to do that? Now, once we have application now that has been deployed, into Kubernetes, we just do what we call continuous integration. Is that it? No, that's not it. How are we able to manage to monitor this application running in real life, and how do we ensure security at this point? So when we have application already in Kubernetes, we can also deploy. I can deploy or I deploy Prometheus and Grafana, depending on how we want to deploy. Do I want to manage application? Do I want to monitor applications that run into the cluster? Then I will deploy user Helm. But what happens if the cluster fail? Everything will go down. You will not even be able to get the logs. So that's why I deploy Prometheus as a standalone application outside of my cluster, so that it can use what we call the pool mechanism, using the node node to be able to pull logs from this environment, the entire infrastructure. This is how I'm able to, as a matter of fact, monitor the entire infrastructure. That's really make the sense of Prometheus, because Prometheus work on everything. Prometheus and Grafana, they work well when everything else fails. So when I have my Prometheus now, I can just use my Grafana, which is like a visualizing software that need a data source like Prometheus to be able to grab this data and display them in a nice dashboard. That's when you are able to see, depending on how you configure your Prometheus, depending on what you want to see, like the limit, the CPU, the request, or the everything, all the alert that you configure in Prometheus. And now you can just go ahead and use the RBAC into AWS to be able to configure, set up a type of security at this point to make sure that nobody has access to your cluster. You have to make sure that when there's a new employee in the company, you configure, you give him authorization, you give him authentication, and then you add him to the config model cluster so they can be able to do the kubectl get port and get node and have access to your cluster. So really, that's how it works. So many mechanisms. I mean, I can keep talking and non-stop. Like I already told you, if you press play in my mind right now, there's a 15-minute script that I will go and talk.
Well, congratulations. Congratulations, Yvan. It's so humbling listening to Yvan, do this humbling presentation, taking the raw code and trying to mystify it to be able to present facts, in such an explicit manner. So some people really wanted to find out how long you've been, studying. I know you joined class 20, class 25. That started July 10, 2021. And when did you get your first offer?
I got my first offer, I think the first week I went online. Like I said, Prof, once you understand that the job ratio, I'm going to repeat this, the job ratio when it comes to DevOps is minimum 5 jobs for 1 DevOps engineer. There's job out there. So My first interview, I'll not lie to you, it was frustrating. I checked and things like that because it was my first time. And then when I realized that all these questions that this guy was asking me, I was just scared. Remember, Prof, I ever asked you, like, how do you manage fear in this condition? Because after this interview, I just realized that I knew everything he was asking, but I just blacked out. And then I promised myself that from the second interview, there's no way. I know I will beat you guys. Bring me, you can even bring me something I don't know. Can you imagine something? I even get to the point where I don't even know who submitted my resume to this AI company. I've never done AI before. But the level of confidence I built in myself was like, even when I'm talking on something that is maybe it's even wrong, but you can even hire me just for my confidence. I said something in the beginning like when I have my some of the recording here. If you listen to my recording, you'll be like, you think like it's proof that it's
Yes,
talking.
Yvan, what you do is that you are going to share those recording again with me. I'm going to add it to class 25 and 26 bootcamp channels. You know, those recording that went through from back to back, you know, I mean, it's going to be very good because at times again, you know, when we meet in the morning, Yvan is always there in the mornings. We always meet every morning at 6 a.m. for their class T dates to make sure that we dot the I's and cut the T's, you know, just to get everybody hired. And I mean, you see folks that are there. And at times, you know, because I mean, again, it is just you knowing how presentation, because Landmark is doing end-to-end deployment, you know, without any even, you know, manual approval. This is end-to-end deployment. You don't need any manual approval. So the only thing you need to do is to be able to, you know, as you rightly said, I think there is something you have made mention in this presentation, which is very important. Can you explain these facts to anybody, even to your grandmother in the house or to your mom who would never do IT? Can you tell mom, what is Git? You know, you are studying, what is this Git that you are doing? Like class 27 now, we are doing Git. Can you be able to tell them what is Git? You know, what Git is doing, and how can she understand Git in your own vernacular? I think those are some of the things to take full advantage of. It's very important. So
I mean, speak to it. Like I said, your morning devotion after your prayer, it to be able to sing the end-to-end DevOps. That's a morning devotion. As you're brushing your teeth, when a developer commit the code, Jenkins will pull this. Sonaki will do this. Oh, I forgot. You go back to your book. You flip the script, and then Sonaki will do this, and then you continue. There will be a moment where you can talk for straight 20 minutes without realizing it. So that was my key, and I'm still learning. I'm still watching all the videos Prof did, practicing. You know, because I just discovered this IT environment. As I said, I'm a background in biology student, pharmacy. You know, so I just discovered this environment, and I feel like I fell in love with it. You know, don't forget about there's a level of confidence that comes when you know that I don't have to worry about money, I don't have to worry about getting a job. There's a level of confidence that comes with it. Once you know that I'm needed out there, the money is out there for me. The only thing I don't have is the knowledge. You will not rush. You will take your time to go from end to end, understand everything. So
yeah, thank you so much again for that presentation. Let me see if we have exhausted the question. Again, there is too much money in DevOps. This is Yvan accepting 2 offers and rejecting 6 jobs. I mean, you know, this is 6 job offers that one person is rejecting. And like, no, I'm not interested. Sorry, I'm not interested. That is what is happening. So again, I tell people, you don't even need anybody. Prof does not need to take your name to any company. I don't need to do that. My job here is to make sure that you transition, is to empower you with knowledge. And as it is said, if you want to be known, know something. And what you know determines, who is going to know you. Now, there is something you will know and you will be known in your village. They will know you in the village. You understand what I'm saying? Now, there is something you will know that White House will be struggling to connect with you. It doesn't matter You know, whether, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are coming from. This is, you know, I mean, nothing empowers a man like what he knows. What is it that you know?
Can I ask something, Prof?
Yes, go ahead.
remember when I called you when he said that in our resume we should not put our phone number. And
Okay.
remember when you said that in our resume we should not put our phone number.
Yes.
In my first resume, I made a big mistake. I put a phone number in my resume when I went online. I was getting about 100 calls a day. 100 calls a day.
You
Remember,
see
I had to go back and modify my resume.
that is it.
100 calls a day. Some even company were even proposing me to just submit your resume. Can you imagine?
That's how it goes. And I think that is important. I think I've told Landmark engineers, your content is so rich that once you put it online, all the companies want to connect with you. So we don't advise our engineers to put their contacts on LinkedIn. Once you do that, you know, you won't have rest, because recruiters will be calling you from back to back. They are scrambling. Now, I say it again. You don't need to go to any community to be hired in DevOps. Like, you know, someone testified and said, you know, maybe she went to one community, Black Lives Matters and whatever. You don't need any community. All you need is to know what we are teaching you. Once you are a master of that content. Now, you and I know Mark Zuckerberg today. Why? Because he owns Facebook. What is it that you know? What you know is going to determine who knows you. So if you want to be known, no doubt the Bible says, have you seen a man diligent in his work? Tell that man, you will not sit with mean men, you will sit with kings. And there is a story I'm going to share with you again, Yvan. Now, Yvan came to Landmark. Yvan was introduced by one of the Landmark graduates in class 21. And that class is a class that had 100% job hired. Everybody was hired. As a matter of fact, not everybody. Everybody is hired in that class, class 21. Now, this lady called me and said, Prof, please, I want to know, what are you teaching these folks today? Because Yvan got a job offer in her own company as a senior manager. And she calls me and said, Yvan is coming to the company 4 positions above her and almost twice her salary. I said, wait a minute. So she's asking me, but she has worked there for 1 year plus. And she's like, Prof, what are you teaching these folks today? That was her question. Can you tell me? And that's why I tell students, now, in Landmark, our main target is that it must only get better. And that's why I can tell you, class 21 student, in terms of content, cannot be compared to class 23. Neither can class 23 be compared to class 25. Now, this is Yvan, class 25, talking about dropping 6 job offers and going ahead with 2 job offers. What do I expect from class 27? This is going to be, Yvan's testimony should be forgotten when class 27 start testifying. Why? Because our content is programmed, you know, to progressively improve in content, in delivery, in value, and in problem solving. That is how it goes. So these are just some few stuff that I want you guys to take specific note of. I can see one other Landmark engineer who have just joined. You know, she wrote me this morning and said, was it morning or yesterday, and said she got another offer. And she was going to meet that in this her offer. She just went there. Let me check if she's even connected. Yvonne, are you connected to say something? She said something that is very interesting, which I want her to repeat what she said, if she's able to say something in this meeting, because you know, that was a very powerful presentation. According to her, in her interview, she was actually schooling them how to run a good DevOps process, which she implements in Landmark. And at the end of the interview, I said, wait a minute, you got the offer. So let me check if Yvonne is there. Okay, I'm not, it seems she's not yet connected. Yeah, Yvonne, your video is very far from you. We can't see you. I would have loved her to just say something, but now, please, if you have any question, you can just type it. Since we still have Yvan and the others connected, they could just take 1 or 2 questions, then we pray for them, okay, and release them into their realm of endless victory. Because I tell you guys for free, you know, what the Lord has done for you is just the tip. You know, you are going to be coming back. Remember, class 25, you have been mandated to be CEOs. So we are releasing class 25. You know, you guys are released as CEOs. When I greet record Silicon Valley, most of the CEOs there, you know, they are from South Asia. They are from South Asia. What is wrong with us? You know, anyway, whatever was wrong with us, that has been taken away, because you guys are released not only to be good DevOps engineers, but to end up as CEOs. So we should have a landmark engineer who is now the CEO of, okay, name the companies. Is it LinkedIn? Is it Microsoft? Is it Amazon? That is where we are going to, because our content is going to be only improved upon. That's just it. We can only improve on the content. Let me find out if we have. I'll just unmute everybody. If you want to ask a quick question, you can ask it real quick before.
Yes, Prof. What is the most efficient way to study? Because we have too many videos and a lot of us have full-time jobs.
Okay, good job. What is going to be the most efficient way to study when we have all the videos and full-time jobs? What I want to say is that that question is relative, in the sense that, again, there are so many videos, and those videos, most of the time, they last for the duration of the course, which therefore implies that those videos are going to be there, you know, as long as you are not yet hired. So, you know, most of the time, you need to, first of all, consider this DevOps program, because what happened to some people is that they approach the DevOps program as, okay, let me just try something. Like, you know, today we have people that still come to some classes like they took to come and testify, because some of them were not sure that they can get hired. So when all their group members got hired, now they go back to the videos and start revising. You know what I'm saying? Like Yvonne, I'm not sure if her video is connected. I would have loved her to just throw some light, because for now, according to Yvonne's testimony, Yvonne said, until when she got into the boot camp, she did not know Jack. You know, which implies she went through the course, finished, okay, she only began to recollect the facts in the boot camp. And as I speak with you now, she has 3 job offers. You know, something such that she goes for an interview and she is talking not just like what she does, she asks the company, tell me, how do you configure your Git environment? And they tell them that this is how we configure. So no, that is not the best approach to configure a Git environment, because from what you have explained to me, I see a lot of security lapses and vulnerabilities. How do you, you know, now that is how she approaches, okay, the interview. She asks them now, how do you guys deploy your apps? And they, you know, and now when they tell her what they do, what she's struggling to do is to get the lapses in what they are saying. You know, something, no, you cannot be deploying application in the year 2022 using this kind of tools. You are stuck in terms of tools. It's not the best. I think if you guys implement some of the tools that we do in Landmark, like this, like that, it is going to give you guys a more better quality software. Like if you follow Yvan talking, okay, this is somebody who understands the end-to-end DevOps lifecycle. And that is the first video I share with you guys when you start DevOps. DevOps end-to-end made easy with Landmark technologies. That is the first video. So again, you know, there are so many videos and there will be more videos. That is a constant. There'll be more videos because in Landmark, we don't teach this course following a shortcut. It is easy. There are schools that will teach Git for 1 hour or maximum 2 hours. They are done with Git. But we teach Git for 12 hours. Why? Because we don't go with a shortcut approach where you come and teach stuff and just crash the surface and people don't have content. We don't do that. Kubernetes in class 26, we have taught Kubernetes in that class for over 36 hours. That is unusual. Why? Because that is where the money is. And there is no way we can just come and scratch stuff and allow you to go out there and you even get the job, you cannot do it. That is not our view. We want our engineers get in. Now, see something, please. The most difficult part in this whole journey is going through the Landmark DevOps end-to-end course. For you to get a job is very easy. To keep the job is easy. The most difficult part is to go through our content, because again, we are not just coming to teach you guys in a nutshell. We are coming to make sure that you get enough content so that when you yourself speak in interview, just your confidence will make the guys to know that this guy, okay, he or she knows what she's talking about or he's talking about. That's how I go. So please, again, going back to your question, and everybody's calendar is not the same. We have people here who are mothers, they have 2 full-time jobs. Khalifat said she had 2 full-time jobs. And this is Khalifat being hired 2 months to, okay, before she is good, okay, she will now get done. You see that? So how did she go through those rounds? Khalifat, let me come back to you. When you say you had 2 full-time jobs, are they 2 full-time, DevOps or IT job? Because somebody may think that you know that is what you have. So let us know, which kind of full-time jobs did you have? Were they IT related jobs?
No, the first one, I was a retail manager, a store retail manager.
Professional
manager.
Okay, I'm coming.
And how I do it, even when I'm on the floor attending, I always have my earpiece.
Okay.
Then the other one, I actually manage an assisted living home. So I always have my
living home.
Yes. Okay. So that one that's just those one, like I always, whenever they know me, people that I study together with, I just sit down and that is where I do my study.
Okay.
8 hours.
Okay. That is Stefan displaying his 2 companies. He's working now for 2 companies, worth close to 400K a year. That is what we are talking about. After rejecting 6 offers. But now there is something that Khalifat have said, which is important. Now, she has a job that permits her to study at work. You know, which is, she has 2 jobs. One of the jobs permits her to study at work. And as she said, she has taken this program as, this is my ball stop. Because at times, I know of students that came to Landmark and, they had gone to other places before with no success. So when they came, they were like, let me just try, man, don't go for this place, work. I mean, yeah, you have gone back to back, work, maybe this is one of the no-go work experience, but, it does not happen. We are running 100% job guarantee DevOps master program. And as you and I know today, it's no longer job guarantee, it's jobs. Because all our testifiers, they have multiple jobs. That is what we see in Landmark. So please take note. I think that's it. That should be all for today.
Prof, I need to ask a question, please, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a question.
Josh,
can you
manage
check your direct message, please? Josh.
How do you manage retention of memory? We have so much information. Sometimes you forgot things that you've taught because we're getting new information. It's not as if you don't know what Prof taught, but after a while, a week or 2 weeks, you begin to forget some of those materials.
Okay, now I think that your question is a good question. Now, the easiest way to retain everything that's going to be taught to you in this program is to use Yvan's approach, which is the right approach to use. And what is that approach? Now, try to normalize what you are taught. You see that? Now, try to customize it to your own environment. That is like, for example, now, if I ask you to explain what you've done so far, let's say in 3 minutes, what can you say about that? You see that? Now, what is the main reason for you to study Git, for example? You see that? Why is Git part of the DevOps end-to-end life cycle? Why is Git important? Now, by the time you know why Git is important, you already know a lot. And again, take note that at work, right? Most of the documentation I share with you, okay, now my wife is working. She is a full-time DevOps engineer, okay? Now, in her job, look at something. Everything that they do, they have documentation. It's like, even for you to type the least command, there is a document that okay, but now You cannot be hired because you are going to read document to apply. When they want to give you the job, they want you to prove to them that you are an asset. You are coming to this company as an asset. You see that, for example, now, class 27, we have done Linux command. What is Linux command? You know, Linux command is just for you to understand how to easily manage your computers by just running commands that will make you to do what? Okay, make you to run or to do more tasks, okay, using minimum time. You are trying to do what? Achieve automation. From there, we move to what? We move to bash shell scripting. With a bash shell script, you can use a file that is going to have so many commands that will perform more tasks for you. That is what a shell script is all about. It's now, from there, what have we done? We have moved into Git. What is Git? It's that you are working for companies. You work with developers. You are going to have different revisions of the kind of tasks that you are doing to them. Git is just like, how do you record, okay, changes in a particular document that you are managing? How do you control it such that if you want to go back to what you did 1 year ago, okay, can you go back there? Git is going to help you to have a record of everything that has happened. You see, so by the time you can relate to this, right, as a person, I tell you for free, you are an automatic, that is, you are a first class student. That's how it goes. But if you're trying to cram command, to cram stuff, that's what the problem is. Our main target is for you to understand so that you can make a difference. When you speak out there, they should know you are from Landmark. As a matter of fact, we have Landmark engineers that they have told them clearly. One of our engineers went for an interview that was supposed to be 5 different steps, and they gave her the job in just one stage. They told her that you are from Landmark. We know products from Landmark. And that's how the interview ended for, one level. She had the job offer. So please take note, there will be a lot of content in this program. We have 19 modules and we must cover all of it. There is no shortcut to it. No shortcut. Okay, Chioma. I see Chioma is trying to ask a question.
Yes, so good evening.
I have a question.
Congratulations to everyone.
Yvan, can you check your direct message, please?
And Khalifa, you're in my group. I thought you were even an IT person. I'm so.
Yeah, Chioma, can you unmute yourself, please?
You did now. Okay. So you can hear me well now?
Yes. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. I said, Khalifat and everybody, congratulations. You're actually in my group. I thought you were an IT person, the way you were going, but I didn't know, your background. So I'm really surprised. My thing is, I get the concept very well, but my limitations are where running the scripts and the commands. So how can I get about that? That's actually where my problems lie. The concept is very clear. What everything does, the DevOps from end to end. So if you're not really that versed in the script side, what is that for you?
How can you navigate that level? Okay,
yeah, how can you navigate that? That's why my yes.
Let's just take another question from Thierry, and then we'll just answer both and end the meeting. We are 30 minutes out of the scheduled time. Yes, Thierry, you have a question to ask?
Yes, Prof. Yes, I do have a question. It's just a quick one, really. I think it's for Khalifa. Thank you, guys. I think what you're saying there is very motivating. We know that this is very powerful for us. Obviously, we'll give a bit more in depth about what to expect going forward. Khalifa mentioned that she had 2 full-time jobs, and it's kind of applying to me. And I want to know, how did she manage to?
She already told you.
To revise with all these jobs that she had, like to grab the content, because maybe a technique will be beneficial for people like me and others as well in the same situation. Thank you.
Okay, that's very good. Let me bring up Yvonne. Yvonne, can you just answer the question? I was going to, remember I've spoken about Yvonne. Yvonne, can you tell us, tell us your experience in this program, how you got done. Now, the volume of content you understood at the end of your course, because I know now you have had 3 different jobs, okay? And the last job that you had, you told me how you were actually schooling the companies on how they can implement best practices that Landmark does. So tell us, number one, because most folks see this program to be like so much content, overwhelming, and that is the same experience you went through. So let us know how your journey was and how others can learn from you. Like somebody is asking, he has 2 full-time jobs. How do you really go through all of that with relative ease?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to be a speaker again in this Landmark. So my job, when I was studying, I had a full-time stressful job. For those who are in the mortgage industry don't understand. You answer calls, you work on people's credit, you work on this, you work on that, they insult you. You're at the time, it's 5 o'clock, you're angry. 6 o'clock, you still have to attend class. Sometimes prof will call me, if I see you sleeping, I'll be like, prof, it's okay, I'll wake up tomorrow. And half of the program, I was sick because of stress. But the way I manage it is, in as much as I study at my own pace, I made friends in class that I knew they can understand the concept, and we discuss the concept and we discuss commands and we would, work together. I have a group of friends up to date. We communicate every day. If I see anything, I read anything I don't understand, I call them, they explain it to me again. That's the best way to study, because at least you can do calls after your work and you can study. Also, when it was time for boot camp, I was like, okay, I don't know anything. Let me start with boot camp. And the first day prof came, I ran through and what you need to know on every topic, what you need to understand. That's what I took, and I went back to my notes and I made sure I understood those things. And that's how I studied. I made sure I understood those things. If I don't understand them, I had to take a week off from my job and take my time for that 1 week, make sure I understood those things, ask questions from my group of friends again. You have to have study friends. Not every time you go and be talking to friends that don't. At this point, you need to make friends that will help you in your journey. I'll call them, I'll ask them question. I'll ask one question more than 6 times to 6 different people and get 6 different explanations, and then incorporate all of them with the notes I have. And and I also have a study group, the group's prof is doing in class. I always, every Wednesday and Thursday, we will go over everything. I'll follow up in the evening. I make sure every time I close from work at 5, I sleep for at least 30-35 minutes, wake up, shower, because when you shower, your whole brain is fresh, and try to study for 2 hours. During boot camp, 2-3 hours. During weekend, I'll study. I stop all my going out because I like going out during the weekend. And in most of my interviews, when I take an interview, I make sure I try to talk the specific points. And Prof. Ken will always tell us what you say, the key points matter. They don't want to hear, I know this, you're doing this. No, the key points matter. When you tell them the key points, what they want to hear, they'll give you. And you need to understand the interview as well. Like the last interview I took, which I was discussing with Prof yesterday, the environment, the developers, they run everything from end to end. You, the DevOps engineer, you don't do nothing, but they do it in a haphazard manner. And when they come for audit, they cannot audit them because they don't have no strategy, nothing. Everybody will just come in, do their thing, and just deploy. And then when there's an issue, they start looking for who did this one. So they had to ask me, how can you help us? And I started with them not just committing anything to master like that. They should have a branching strategy. They should make sure they even blur the master. They should make sure their pull request is being done by maybe their manager or the same one person. So at least if the manager is doing it, they can have a timestamp. Like normally when they do that pull request, you know when it was accepted, when it was stuff like that.
And with that, they can document it. And even if they have audit, somebody can just go somewhere and look at whatever happened. You don't just have anybody commit one code and want to run it through Kubernetes environment and just put it to production, and then now you start looking for who will troubleshoot. No, you don't do it like that. And they asked me a lot of different questions on Jenkins. How can I help them? They say, oh, they have so many pull requests, more than 20 deployments in a day. I asked them, why are you getting 20 deployments in a day? Is it that you can combine those codes, look at it and do a rebase or a merge at once, or you just don't? They say nobody looks at anything. I say, no, that's not a practice. You know, sometimes when you know the concept, you know how to advise somebody. But if you don't know, they'll just be talking, this is what we do. You'll be like, oh yeah, that's what I do too, because we want to claim like we know while we've been working, you know. So that was just how I studied. Just create your time. If you know you have 2 jobs, at least you get off work at the point in time, you have 8 hours to sleep. That 8 hours, just sleep for an hour, wake up, shower, put in 1 hour or 2 hours into studying, and then talk with friends that know, try to understand what you have studied. It's not like you must study 6 topics a day. You can study just a topic, but make sure you understand it. Trust me, the DevOps material is much, but when you focus on what you need to know, you see that it's not even that much. You understand it.
Yep. Thank you so much, Yvonne. Again, I really want to let every Landmark student know, as you know, the ratio of 1:5 to me is even a low ratio. You know, there is, if we graduate, assuming we are graduating 1,000 engineers every month, we cannot still be able to meet up 1% of the job market. That is, we have 1,000 engineers every month that graduate from Landmark and are all hired. We cannot be able to meet up 1% of the job market. That is to let you know that. Now, the number of DevOps jobs out there, they are crazy. There is a scramble for DevOps engineer that is commensurate to the scramble for Africa. If you read the story, the history on how, folks had to come to Africa to scramble for resources till date, that is how it is. So please, I just want to use this opportunity again to encourage us. This is what is available. Now, there is one of our engineers that had a job and they called me and said, Prof, I just want to thank you again because I can't imagine that. Now, this guy, he does not have, his work permit had even expired. You know, in the US, if you don't have a green card, you need work permit to work. So that was his situation. His work permit had already expired and he had applied for it to be renewed. No renewal has come. All he got was an extension letter. With that extension letter, the company was still in a rush to keep him. Why? Because they are no engineers. If you don't want to get the good folks, what are you going to do? Do you want to shut down your company? And the government knows that there are no engineers. And we equally have companies that are, they are sponsoring folks for green card, okay, and permanent resident card. Why? And how can you get there? Just be good. That is the rule. Just know your stuff and present it in the Landmark fashion. Once you present it in the Landmark fashion, of course, there is only one result. So please take note. So thank you so much, everybody. I'd like us to pray at this time, for the people that have given their testimony, that God is going to go ahead of them as they start working. And for all those that have listened to this testimony, I'm going to be praying for you guys especially. You are going to be returning with your own testimony. I think you have heard, I have some folks that have heard, that is the number of testimonies you have heard is sufficient for you to go and come back with 10 job offers. So we are going to be praying. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this special day. We bless you for everyone that has testified, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for Yvan. We thank you for Califat. We thank you for Sina. We thank you for Baha, for Patricia. We thank you, Lord, for Joshua and every other person that has, oh God, come this evening, Lord, Yvonne, to share their testimonies. Lord, we pray according to your word that says that they overcame the enemy. They overcame their problems, their obstacles, their challenges because of the word of their testimonies and the blood of the Lamb, Jesus. Lord, I decree that by virtue of these testimonies, Lord, their job shall be most relaxed. Lord, I release them not only as DevOps engineers, but as major CEOs, Lord, in top IT companies, in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Lord, and I pray for everyone that has come to listen to this testimony. Lord, the Bible says that every testimony is a prophecy. That the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. Lord, I decree that those that have listened to this testimony has now become a prophecy to them. That go and come back with your own job offers. In the name of Jesus. For if God can do it for one, he can do it for all. You are the next testifier in Jesus' name. Thank you, Heavenly Father. In the name of Jesus. Amen and amen. So again, I know there are some folks here that are trying to join class 28. Class 28 is starting on the 9th of April. So make sure that if you are trying to join the class or to get your family members be part of that class, of course, you should do that on time so that they can have a seat in that particular class. So that's it. Have a great week.
Yvan, share your number, please.
Everybody. My number, let me just.
No, Yvan.
Okay, Yvan, if you're in Landmark, Yvan is on the hub desk as well. He's on the, yes, all our engineers are on the hub desk, so you can find them there with relative ease. All our engineers are reachable. So please take note.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Have a blessed week, everybody.